Hello and welcome back to the Blue Vanilla tutorial series. This is SRJ26 and today I'm going to be showing you how we make structures in Blue Vanilla. The first thing we're going to do is set up our dev environment. I'm going to go in and in my Minecraft folder I have now a mods folder in which I find a Blue Vanilla and then a resources and then SRJ design and then books and XML files and records and more XML files and structures. And the structures are what we're going to look at first. So in order to actually set up our environment, we're going to need to take in this Minecraft folder where all these other folders are, we're going to create a folder called assets. And if there is an assets folder, and I'm just going to quickly jump over and show you my normal one so you can see I've got this assets folder up there. If it has an assets folder, then it will pull the files from your local hard drive rather than pulling them from the srjdesign.com assets resource. So you can work locally and you can test locally. So you can make stuff and it won't be on the server, but you can see it. If you look at my Minecraft good folder here, the reason I have an extra S in my assets is that when I put that extra S in or change it to assets bad or assets and anything other than assets, then it will no longer find the assets folder and it will start working from the server again. So let's go back to our Minecraft folder, and you want your assets folder, and then what you're going to do is you're going to actually copy into it all those files. So let's go back and in mods, under Blue Vanilla Resources SRJ Design, we take everything here and we're going to copy them and we're going to paste them back up into our assets folder. And it's 50 meg worth of stuff so far, it'll be more later. And that is it. Now we have a dev environment. And if I were to start testing right now, we would be going into our local files. The first thing I'm going to show you is the text file. Every structure is separated into two different files. So for example, here boat_dia.txt and then boat_dia.xml. So right up here, we're going to make a new file. Actually, I'll just go down here and go into text edit, and I'll make a new file. I'll take this file. I'm going to save this file as Dirt House, I think. Yeah, I'll just do Dirt House because that works for me. All right, so we've got assets and then structures, and then we'll put it right here as dirthouse.txt. So now we've got dirthouse.txt. And how does a text file work in Blue Vanilla? Each layer is going to be separated by a dash. So I'm going to use the letter D to represent dirt. So I'll do D, 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 D. Actually, let me pull this down in case you can't see it into the middle of the page. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, so 5 D's in a row, and then we're going to do a D for the back wall, and then space, 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 and then a D for the front wall, D for the back wall, space, space, space. I'll leave a space there. And then there we go. So now we've got this big sort of 5 by 5 open shape here. Each of those D's represents where a dirt block will be placed, but that's only one layer. So we start from the ground up, and that dash I just put in would represent the break between that and the next layer. So I'm going to take this first level and I'm going to copy it and paste it there. Now we have 2 layers of dirt. Let's do another one. And this one, I'm actually going to put a dirt block in the middle of the front wall. That right-hand side is the front wall. It doesn't have to be, but it's just the way I'm doing it. And then I'm going to put one last layer of dirt as the roof. And there we go. And you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to leave it the way it is. So for now, what we've got is our Dirt House text file. with one open room with a doorway right there, or an opening right there, another open room with an opening right there, and then another level, that is, another level that's just a circle of dirt, and then the final level has just a flat thing of dirt all across the top for the roof. And that gives us a 4-block tall building with a 2-block tall opening. And that's all there is to a text file. It's pretty straightforward. So as I mentioned before, every structure has two files, the .txt file and the .xml file. So we're going to make another file here, and we're going to save it as a dirthouse.xml and use XML. There we go. And I'm going to I do this a lot, and you should too. I open up other structures and I'll copy stuff. And the reason is that I'm paranoid about not getting the formatting right. So I'm going to copy a bit of this, and it's just such simple stuff, but it's just in my head. I really, really like to copy existing stuff because, I don't know, typos are too easy. So I just copied the diamond boat one, and I'm actually going to remove the complicated stuff for now. We'll talk about that later. And what the XML file does is it simply defines a bunch of things about the structure. So it tells Blue Vanilla what the character D will represent. And the character D will represent a block. Let me, I'll go number sign. The pound sign is used for whenever you're going to use a number to represent your block using the ID. If you wanted to, you could do, I think you could just do dirt. But with numbers, it's very simple to remember if you can remember the numbers. With names, you kind of have to remember the name perfectly. So I'm just in the habit of using numbers. And that's dirt, but if we don't do something else, it'll be weird. So we actually have to, let me open up the file for you to see here. And there we go. So we've got the D, but we also have these spaces inside, and we have to define those. If we don't define a letter that's being used in this text file, what it will do is it will replace it with whatever's in the existing structure. So if there happened to be a hill, and it was spawning on a hill, and the slope was such that this block right here would be dirt, then if I don't specify what that space is, it will wind up being dirt. But I need to do space block equals that, nothing, and that will tell me that my space will be air, and that will tell me that my D will be number 3, which is dirt for the block ID. And that's the simple explanation of an XML file in Blue Vanilla. So now that we have our TXT and our XML files, we want to be able to see it in the world. We don't want to just do a whole bunch of programming and not know what it looks like. We want to confirm that it is what we want. So we're going to duplicate this scattered structures.txt, and we're going to name our backup. I name my backup as group because it's got a group of structures. And if we open it up and look at it, you'll see that, whoa, there is a ton of stuff. And it actually has the folder names that I was using for putting them down in folders. But these two structures are not in folders. They're at the top level. So we're going to take this scattered structures.xml, and we're just going to do test structures, and we're going to do, let me see, there we go, okay. So we're going to use this biome combination, and I'm just going to go all the way back down and delete pretty much everything else in the whole file because this is for testing. And this is stuff you'll want to do probably for your testing as well, so I'm not just doing this for no reason. Let's delete those, and now we only have one structure, and we're going to call this dirt house. We can delete all the gobbledygook. We will explain all that later, maybe, if you're good. And we'll do min distance 0, and we'll delete that. We'll get to all that later. And this file you're looking at right here, let me just change that to 9. and placement notifications true. Okay, this file you're looking at right here, let me actually minimize it in case it's getting cut off by my wonderful movie program. This file here will put Dirt House in all of these biomes at a minimum distance of 0 blocks from 0, 0. So this is an ideal test environment for being able to go in and see our Dirt House showing up. So we're going to save this scattered structures. So now that we've saved our scattered structures file, there's one more file we need to edit, and that would be the version.txt file. What we're going to do is we're going to take this version.txt and we're simply going to null it out. We want nothing in there, and if there's nothing in your version.txt file, it will force Blue Vanilla to reload everything every time it runs. So the version on the server that we have does have a date. That's how we sort of periodically force the applications to download everything new if we ever really need to change anything. But for you, you'll want to just have a blank version.txt so that every time you change your Dirt House or change your scattered structures, it will make sure to go back and reload a new Dirt House so you can see the changes that you made. So now that we have a revised scattered structures and we have our first version of the Dirt House, we're going to go in and test. So we fire up our Minecraft Blue Vanilla, and we can play single player. We should get an immediate notification that we are in Blue Vanilla by looking at the chat, and it will, I'll just delete that one, but we can make a new world. I go into creative so I can fly around and find stuff. So it says assets provided from srjdesign.com, and we are testing locally, so we should immediately get a notification that a Dirt House has been spawned. It will show up in our chat. So what we'll do is we'll fly around just a little bit. There we go. Placed structure at 2, 434. So we will TP to 100, 434, and look down. Look at that. It looks like we have a Dirt House. Also, I should have made a brick house, then I could have sung to you. She's a brick house. We'll get to that later. So that is how it works. At least the simple version of how it works. We have our beautiful little Dirt House. It doesn't have any I didn't make any windows. How could I not make windows for our Dirt House? That's okay. And that is how you test a structure. It's pretty simple, and it is absolutely essential because you will screw things up, and it's the only real way to see what you did screw up and how to fix it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the block attributes, and the first one is char, short for character. And this one's pretty simple. It goes without saying, if it's listed in the txt file somewhere, then it needs to be defined over here in your XML. And if you multiply define something, it will screw it up. So be very careful not to use every single one only once. And you want to do a methodology that works for you, so like D for dirt made sense to me at the time. One thing I often do is I will use a question mark if I want whatever is already in the environment to show up again. Anything you put in here, you know, ABC, maybe ABC, and question mark, those will all show up as whatever's already in the world because they're not currently defined over here in my XML. My methodology is I always use question marks for that. One thing to know is that some programs will try to take dots and make an ellipsis out of them. So if your program is messing around with your dots, don't use dots. And you'll get used to it. It's pretty simple. And that's about all there is to say about the char attribute. The block attribute is really important. It is basically the block that is used to be put in place for the character in your structure file. So over here, as you saw, I used number 3 for D for dirt. It's very common to forget to use the number sign. That will screw things up. You got to use the number sign if you're using an ID. If you want to use a full name, you can go to srjdesign.com/Minecraft and go to technical. And in the technical section, you can scroll down and we have a blocks list page. On the blocks list page, you can find all the words that are used, like dirt is actually dirt. Stone brick is stone brick, not stone bricks, just singular. Sand, gravel, or iron, or gold, etc. I personally have a printout of all my numbers, and I work with numbers, but you don't have to. You got to use whatever works. You can do both. It's actually a fairly flexible environment. Just use what you'll remember, because the more you screw it up and the more things don't generate properly, the harder it'll be for you. So try to be consistent and try to use a method that works for you. You'll remember them too. I know that 98 is stone brick because I've done this long enough. Although that won't work because I have no S's over here. But you get the idea. And that's about all there is to say about the block attribute. The next block attribute I want to talk about is the metadata attribute. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it twice. And I'm going to have a capital S for one and a small s for the other. And I'm going to make both of these 98 because, if I remember correctly, 98 is the stone brick block. For the first one, I could leave it blank and it would default to a metadata of 0, but I'm going to give it a metadata of 1. I could make it 0 either way, metadata 2. And that 1 and that 2 will make these two blocks appear differently. So let's do, I don't remember, let's do lowercase, uppercase s for these two, and then the lintel, the top beam up here will be capital S, and let's go see what these are, because I'm not even sure what they'll be. So we've saved our TXT, we've saved our XML, we will pop open our Minecraft, and we'll see what it looks like. And pretty quickly, I think we'll see our chat message. The placement notification. There we go. TP2 100 434. I should remember that. And there we go. Did it work? Did it work? Let's see. Look at that. All right. So now our dirt house has a cracked stone brick and mossy stone brick border. And one of these, I think this one is, no, maybe that one is metadata 1 and this one's metadata 2. I don't remember. I can't keep it straight, but that's why I have a printout. I'm constantly referring to it. And so that is what metadata will do. It will simply allow you to use blocks that have the ability to have metadata change the block type that is displayed for the block that is chosen. And not all blocks have this, but some do, some don't. And you'll have to look through the data values to find out. So happy researching. The next block attribute I want to talk about is direction. And direction is used, I'm going to make another copy of these two, and I'm going to put in some ladders, and I'll use capital L and small l. And ladders are 65, I just looked it up, and direction, and we'll do this first one as, I don't know, north. And we'll do the second one, direction equals south. And let me just widen that up a little bit. There we go. So we've got capital L, direction, actually, we'll do this one as east. So we've got one block with the direction of north, another block is the direction of east. What this will do is this will help to control where the block will appear. So I'm going to just put an L there. I'm going to put an L there. And I'm going to put an L there, and then we'll do one here. And if you are smart, you can figure out that that will mean there will be a hole in the roof. And we'll put a small L here, 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 and here. And we'll see what happens. And I can never remember which directions, what happens when you put them in. I haven't been using this stuff that long. So we're going to go in and find out what it looks like. And you'll see that basically what the direction does is it changes the orientation of the block. 4 blocks that can change orientation. And not all blocks can. A dirt block doesn't really matter if it's facing north or south or east or west, but a ladder does, and a stairs block does. And doors do. There's a lot of blocks that actually do care. So let's go in again, and we will see how it looks when we have these two blocks set up with the orientations that they currently have, which was what, north and east? I can't even remember. All right, here we go. Excellent. So this is our house, and we have one ladder there and one ladder there. I guessed right. So that, I think, is the north wall, and then this is the one that was facing east. So you use direction to change the orientation of a block, and if those were wrong, they would have been, and strangely, ladders are invisible from the back side, so it would have been invisible from one side, and it would have been floating in the air from the other. And that is basically how direction works. So the next block attribute I'm going to talk about is kind of a weird one. There are 4 variations, and they're only if air, not if air, only if solid, and not if solid. And the example I'm going to use is going to take our wonderful dirt house, and I'm going to replace it with huge blocks of S. That's a lot of S. And we're going to take our S and we're going to make it, let me see, number 4. Actually, no, let me explain one thing for you, actually. If I made it number 1, that would be stone, right? But there's a problem with stone in Minecraft. When Blue Vanilla tries to place block number 1, it sometimes shows up as stone, but sometimes it shows up as coal ore or dirt or other kinds of ore. It's basically the natural terrain of the land. So if I want to be able to build and only use smooth stone, I use this thing that Dan created called building stone. And it does not have a number because it is actually a named block. And we're going to have only if solid equals true. And what that's going to do is put a building stone block only if it's replacing a solid block. And I'd like to show you what that will look like. I'll actually tell you, you can probably guess if you're smart, but I set it up to be able to show up in forests. So we've got this gigantic cube of stone, right? And the giant cube of stone is not going to show up as a cube of stone. It's going to show up as stone only where it replaces solid blocks. So if we go over and try to find a forest, with any luck, if I did it right, what we're going to see is something kind of cool. So what should happen, there we go, look at that, isn't that pretty? Actually, it's not that pretty, but it is what it is. What's happening here is that this giant block of stone is replacing all of the existing blocks with stone blocks. So we have a petrified forest, and not a very well done petrified forest, because you see I missed a block right there. But still, it is what it is, and it's just a way of using that only if solid parameter, that attribute. So that is an example of those 4 wonky attributes. Only if air, not if air, only if solid, and not if solid. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about depth and about the various attributes in the structure tag. Depth is going to allow us to put something deeper into the ground. So we're going to take our structure and we're going to take this and put it right there. And we're going to change those 2 to D's. And now we're going to take, I guess, one more of these levels. And what I'm doing is I'm basically building a basement. A rather small and cruddy basement, but a basement nonetheless. And we've got that layer, we're going to copy it. So now we have a 3-block tall basement, and just for good measure, we'll put one more layer on the very bottom, just in case it's above a ravine or something. But this will put a layer and then 1, 2, 3 levels of open room, and then we get into our first floor. So that's 5. We're going to go over here and give it a structure depth of 5. And you know, I'm actually going to put a hole in the center of our floor so we can sort of peer down into our basement. And here we go. We saved that, and because our version file is blank, it will automatically reload everything every time we create a new Blue Vanilla world. So, or every time we load up the game, actually. There we go. All right. Look at that. So giving it the depth actually took the structure and sunk it into the ground. Whoa, and I fell down. So now I'm in our basement of our brand new little structure. You guys can't see anything. There we go. So I'll just knock that out of the way, and you can see now that we have a basement in our beautiful dirt house. And that's how structure depth works. If I were to get out of the house somehow, oh my god, I'm trapped. That's okay, I'm free. Alright, if I were to take my depth value and make it negative, then rather than putting it down into the ground, it would actually fly it up in the air. And that's how Dan made the hot air balloons. He gave it a negative depth of like 30 or 40, and it sort of stuck it way up into the air. Okay, so the next attribute for structures that I want to talk about is alignment. Alignment is defaulted to surface. Alignment equals surface. And that will place your structure on the surface of wherever you are putting it. But it will also put it on the ocean surface. But if you want it to be on the ocean floor, you go alignment equals ground. And that will work the same on the ground, but if it's underwater, it will actually be underwater rather than being on the ocean surface. And here I'm actually got to remember to put ocean in my scattered structures file, otherwise it will not actually show up in the ocean. So now my crazy dirt house that now has dirt will be impossible to see because the ocean is dark. So I'm going to make it have a block 89. And 89 just happens to be glowstone. So we will go in and we will see if I successfully created an ocean floor glowstone shack. Okay, so I have teleported far out into the world in the 5000s range, and here we have our underwater dirt house. And we'll just sort of go down the wonderful little, oh wow, yes, okay, so we've got our dirt house that is now a glowstone house, so we can find it easily. And as you can see, it is on the ocean floor because we used alignment equals ground rather than alignment equals surface. So that is the difference between alignment ground and alignment surface. If you want the sea floor, use ground and specify ocean as your biome. Otherwise, the default will be surface, and it should work out fine for you. There are two attributes that I'm going to mention real quick that are not ones I'm going to demonstrate, but they're pretty straightforward. Not over liquid equals true. That will not spawn this object, this structure, if it is going to be over liquid. And you can also do only over liquid. Only over liquid equals true. So for example, you know how in the ocean biome there are islands? Well, if you wanted to have a structure and have it be only, not over liquid, and have the structure only ever show up in an ocean biome, but on those rare islands, and you were incredibly lucky because that would be really hard to do just randomly, you could have not over liquid equals true, and it would show up on the island if there was an island. If you wanted to have a boat and never have the boat run aground, then you could do only over liquid equals true, and that would result in your boat only showing up over liquid. And that's all there is to that. It's pretty straightforward. The last structure attribute I'm going to mention here is called chat message. Chat message. And I've never even used this, so I'm going to try it out for the first time here. Chat message, do you feel dirty? And we've reverted our D block to a number 3, which should be dirt. And we will go in and see if we get a chat message when we find our dirt house. Okay, we're in the world. It shouldn't take long. Now that first one right there didn't give us a message because it spawned when the world generated. It's once the world's generated, any new ones. There we go. Do you feel dirty? Do you feel dirty? I feel dirty now. Yeah, so that is how it works. You can make your structure spawn a message. It is not something that we will use often, but there will be times where there's something that may result in a chat message. It might be something like a chill runs up your spine, or something to establish mood for the players for what they're about to encounter in the structure that they have found. But so far I don't think we've used it at all, so stay tuned. You may start seeing stuff in your chat messages once we start using that. And that's really all there is to chat messages. It's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure there are characters that would cause problems, so just make sure you test it thoroughly before you try to submit anything to us for inclusion into the mod. And that's about all there is for that. Alright, the next thing I'm going to show you is how we place doors. And while I could probably do it from memory, I'm going to show you how we cheat, because we cheat all the time. I don't actually remember all this fancy stuff. I learn it and then I look it up. And I'm looking it up in boat_oak, which is one of mine, and I want to show you what a door looks like. If I can find a door, there's got to be a door in here somewhere. Let's do a find for door. There we go. So this is a door, and we're going to copy this out and we're going to put it in our dirt house. But there's a problem. Do you see the problem? If you've been paying attention, then you will. The problem is obvious. We have two D's. Big D, little d. So we're going to take this door and make it a small d, and the block is door wood. That could also be a numbered ID, but I think I originally copied this from one of Dan's, and Dan uses block names, so that's why this one has a block name. It also has a direction. Doors have directions. So let's save that. And over here I'm going to show you one of the funny things about doors. So this is our first level of our house right here. We only put the D on the first level. It'll automatically generate the first level and then the second level of the door. But you don't want to put it in both, because then it'll get really screwed up. And you'll see in testing what it looks like. But if you only place it in the bottom layer, then the layer right above it will also be given the second half of the door. And because of the order in which these things get generated in the structure, it goes through and it places all the spaces, then it goes through and places all the capital D's, the dirt blocks, then it goes through and places all the capital S's, etc. So you usually want your doors at the end. And the reason is that it will replace a block that's here. I'm pretty sure it'll replace a block that's here when it goes through and does the door. But if you do the door first, then if you placed a block here, it would do the door, and then it would replace the top half of the door with whatever you have here. So if I had an S there, I think this way it would be fine, but if the door was at the top and was run first, then it would generate the door and then replace the top door part. But we're going to do it right. We're going to put a blank in above for the top half of the door. And what we'll do, we'll actually place a door here too, just to show you a north-facing door on the north wall and on the east wall, and we'll see how it looks. So here is our house, and we should have two doors. Let's just zoom on over and see. Look at that. All right. Now you remember how I had the north-facing one door on this side, and the other door should have been over there? But it's not. It's over here. Why is that? Well, that's because the game engine will actually flip houses randomly, so structures won't always generate with the same orientation. You also notice that both doors are facing the same way, and that's fine. But believe it or not, when you have a door that's put into the block like this, and then you open the door, a zombie can't break it, because it'll walk up against it and it won't be able to break the door because the door's open. It's really weird. But this door over here, the zombie will be able to break if we were in hardcore mode and not in creative mode. But at any rate, that's a little trivia about doors. But that is how you do it. And you see that the top part of the block did generate, despite the fact that we did not actually put a D in the second level of this floor of the code. We only put in one D for each door, and it did both parts of the door. Thank you very much, Blue Vanilla. The next block I'm going to show you is the sign block. And again, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to copy from my brother's code because he does it right. And we're going to copy sign wall and signpost because why not? And we're going to put them in ours and pretend that they were ours to begin with because we're just like that. So we've got character 1 and character 2. There's no need to change those because in our XML we do not have a 1 or a 2 defined. All we have is DSSLLD. So we've got car 1 and car 2, and this sign is on a wall. And this one will say this sign is not on a wall. And this direction north, direction south, that's fine. And I'm going to try to guess what's right for the wall sign. It should be 1, and then the other one is 2. I'm going to plug up the hole in my floor too, because I'm tired of the hole in my floor. So we'll have 2 there, and I'm going to put 1 there. So as you walk in the front door, D, you will, oh look at that, that's a 1, that's an L. See, this gets confusing. As you walk in the front door, you will have a wall sign on the wall here, and then in the center there will be a, actually I'll put this one there. Okay, so there will also be a signpost number 2. So we've got signpost character 2, sign wall character 1, and these are directly on top of the floor, which is there. And let's go see how it looks. Okay, we got to find our house. There it is. And let's see if we have signs. Go in here and, okay, this sign is on a wall. Oh, look at that. I was dumb. I put that sign on the floor level. It should be here. If I was being a good designer, that sign would not be on the floor level. But this sign says this sign is not on a wall, but ironically it actually is facing so I can barely read it. So, one lesson for you guys is that you want to test. But that is how you put a signpost in. That is how you put a wall sign in. And again, the lesson is do it and go look at it. And if it's not right or it looks funny or looks weird, tweak. Tweak, tweak, tweak until you get it right and then move on to the next block. So that is how you do signs. There is a limit to the number of characters per line, and you can work on it and figure it out until you get it right. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. Maybe 11? I don't know, 13? You'll figure it out. It's not too hard. And that's how you do signs. Alright, the next thing I'm going to show you is a chest and a bed. So we've got our signs. We're going to go down here and we're going to pop in some more code. We've got a block with a character defined as square bracket and then another one is square bracket. The block is bed. Direction is north for both, and the first one has a metadata of 8, the next one has a metadata of 0. And we have our chest. Character is, let me see, do I have C defined? I do not have C defined, so small c for the chest, and this one has a direction of east, and the item is an apple in the chest. The X and Y show where it appears, so that would be in the 8th column in the 2nd row, and the min is the minimum number in the stack of apples, the maximum is the maximum number in the stack of apples. So we're going to have between 2 and 12 apples showing up in this chest. If we were to put two of these next to each other, we would have a double chest, but we'll just do one for now, and we'll put that there. And the block, I gotta say, I'm going to be guessing on this one, but I think we're going to actually do it like that, and it'll work, because I think north will orient properly. But again, you got to test. You got to test, 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 and make sure you get it. Oh, wait, before we do that, you also got to look over your code. That is not helpful, but that is. Remember that the top is the ground floor, so now it is on the floor rather than floating 2 blocks up in the air. And I'm actually going to take my wall sign and my other sign and put them in more appropriate places, hopefully. And let's go see how it looks. Alright, so here's our house. And let's see if anything worked. First off, we've got our sign there, and our wall sign looks right. It is on the wall, right where you want it. And look at that. It's an insane bed. And we have our 2 apples. And 8 comma 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it starts at 0. So that would be 0, 1, 2. And then that would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 comma 2 would actually be this corner of the chest. And this is a beautiful example of why you must always, see, can I sleep in this crazy bed? Well, it's a broken bed because it's reversed. So I would go back in and I would switch those characters, and then next time I loaded it up, it would be fine. So we would go in here and we would take our crazy bracket and we would do the opposite there, and that would work to make a proper bed. That's why you want to test, because this stuff is kind of abstract and it's really hard to remember it perfectly. So code, test, code, test, code, test. And that's about all there is to say about chests and beds, at least for the moment. The next block I'm going to talk about, or the next code bit I'm going to talk about, is the random tag. The random tag is really, really awesome. I'm going to show you it right now. You do random, and then you define a character if you're doing a block. We'll do random car equals S, and then close your random. And then we're going to take this S and we're going to put it up here, and we don't define it twice, so we remove that part. Now we've got your character is S and block is 98, metadata 1, and just for fun we'll do metadata 0, metadata 1, and metadata 2 for the capital S character. And for the lower S character, I'm going to go straight to 4 with no metadata, because that will let me see more clearly what this one is. You can also use the random tag for chest contents. So if we come down here and do random, let me actually go check my code. I always do this. I got to check somewhere else to make sure I get it right, because I don't want to get it wrong. And there you go. Okay, repeat. So we're going to do random repeat, and there you go, random repeat 3, and then we can actually remove the X and Y, and it will randomly place it in the chest, because we're being random after all. And we'll just do 2. So apples and diamonds, and we'll do diamond min 1, max 3. And so we'll have actually let's do more just for fun, 4. Okay, so we're going to have random chest contents down here, and it'll be slightly randomized. And then we'll have random blocks for your S character. And let's go see how this looks. So here's our house, and we're going to go right in and see if we have, look at that. Okay, so remember I changed the lowercase s to cobblestone, and on this one the uppercase S turned into stone brick. The important thing to know is that when you randomize a block, what you're randomizing is the block for the entire structure. So if we were to take off flying and try to find the next one, it might not be stone brick. It would probably be something else. And it shouldn't be too hard to find. So there you go. Okay, so there's the next one. And it just happens to be oriented the same. Yes, it just happens to be oriented the same way. But this one happens to have mossy stone brick. So if we go in here and take a look at our basement, now our bed looks right because we switched those characters around, and we have a random combination of apples and diamonds. So best chest ever. And that is how randomization works in Blue Vanilla. It's pretty straightforward. There's one last thing I'm going to mention, which is just a little note about the item tag. If you want to put items in, there are items that have really complicated configurations. And you can go on the tech pages on srjdesign.com/Minecraft. Okay, and we're gonna go down and we have an items list here, and it will list all of the items names. And you can also go for all of this, go to Minecraft Wiki data values, and the data values is actually where I go because I have an easier time looking at the icons that are shown for all the blocks. And the data values on Minecraft Wiki also has notes about all the items, so these are all your items. And if you scroll down further, we actually have some stuff about the metadata. So for example, your wood planks, which is I think number 5, your metadata for 0 is oak, for metadata 1 is spruce, metadata 2 is birch, metadata 3 is jungle. So experiment, test, you'll figure it out. It's not that hard. The one thing to note about metadata and items is that items don't actually have metadata. Items have damage values. So if you had an item that needed to have metadata, it wouldn't be metadata equals 1, 2, 3. It would be damage equals 1, 2, 3. And you can do enchantments and all kinds of stuff, but keep in mind that if you try to build something for entry into a contest for Blue Vanilla, we're not going to spawn unbalancing stuff into our world. And we probably have some stuff out there that we already need to tone down. So don't go crazy on your items in your chests. Try to make it appropriate to the biome that the building is going to show up in, and just don't be too out of control. And you'll have a better chance of winning the contest, I guess. And that's about all there is to mention about items. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Alright, so let's say we have finished all of our testing and we built a fancy pants fancy dirt house, and we experimented and we had fun, and we decided that we're all done and we don't want to do any more of that. We just want to actually play Blue Vanilla. Well, remember, if we just go in, we're gonna load our local assets, and we don't want to do that. So change that. I always put an S in my ass for assets. It sounds wrong. Put an S in my ass. And now when I load up Blue Vanilla, I will go in and I will pull down assets from the server. So it's really very easy to revert to live BV from your local testing. It's just change that assets folder, and then it will once again start pulling down from the server, and you will be good to go. And if I delete this and recreate, I should no longer see a dirt house. And as you see, there is nothing there. There is no little dirt house here, and we are now in our actual Blue Vanilla environment with structures being brought down from srjdesign.com/Minecraft/BlueVanilla/assets. So this is it. We're back out of our testing environment. So that has been our Blue Vanilla tutorial. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, post them to the Reddit thread. Structure building can be complicated. You can get really long text files and complicated XML files. And it's not the simplest thing in the world. So if you want to try it out, go for it. If you have questions, ask. We will do what we can to help you, but a lot of it's on you. You got to figure it out. So good luck, have fun with it, and we'll be starting our first contest soon. So we hope you join in. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.